Hi, it's Candice. I'm back with Grow Local, and we are going to go and check the containers that we did last time. One was the kale with the Swiss chard and the lettuce, and I don't know if yours is bigger or if it's smaller, but either way, I hope it's growing. And today is the day that we're going to plant the tomato in the container that we had the radish on the outside and the lettuce on the inside. Now, some of my lettuce is coming up okay, some of it not so much, but I have had some trouble with some slugs, so it might have been them. This tomato is called a bush early girl, and this one is what they refer to as a determinant. That means this tomato is going to grow to a certain height and it's going to have a certain amount of fruit, and then it's done. If you are going to grow an indeterminate, those are vining tomatoes, and they will keep on growing as long as the weather holds, and they can get incredibly tall, 6 feet, 7 feet, maybe even bigger. But for the container, we're going to be doing the bush, the determinate one. And here's something that you're probably going to want, you're probably not even going to think about doing. But if you look at your tomato, it's got all sorts of little hairs on it, and sometimes you'll find little bumps on it. Those are actually potential roots. And the stronger root system you've got on a tomato, the more nutrients it's going to be able to take up, and it's going to be a little more stable in this windy little city we have here. So the first thing that you're going to do is look at the two leaves at the bottom. Those were the cotyledons, or the seed leaves that first came out. This is your first set of true leaves. This is what a tomato leaf actually looks like. And what you're going to do is you're going to pick off those cotyledons, and then you're going to pinch off this guy. And if you want, you can pinch off that guy. I still get a little bit nervous about it, but you could leave it. It's going to end up looking more like a palm tree. You're going to take your tomato out, and you will make a hole. And I'm going to use gloves, guys. Sorry, I forgot to put them on. But I want you to make a hole in your container that's going to accommodate that lovely tomato all the way up there. So he's buried really well. And wherever those little hairs are in contact with the soil, you are going to get more roots, stronger plant, and you're going to get some awesome looking tomatoes later. Some people find that their soil is not very deep and they don't think that they can plant their tomato that far down. There is a trick that some people do. Tomatoes are an intelligent little plant. They know which way the sun is, and they know which way they have to grow. So if you were to take this plant and lay it on the ground for a couple of days, the stem will naturally bend up. And where all these little hairs have attached to the soil, they're going to make roots. So then you can bury it. You still got a really good, long, strong root system, and your tomato will grow up. This one, I'll pick off some more, make him some more. This is a black crim. This is a vining one. It's also an heirloom, which just means he's been around for a long, long time and hasn't been commercialized. And I'm digging down deep. And see if he's going to fit. I can go a little farther. And then I will take him out. And if you remember, it's make the L with your hand so that you're not breaking the stem. Pop him in. Save my tag so I know what he is. And because this is a vining tomato, it's going to need support. There is no way it's going to be able to stand up on its own. So in this case, I'm going to use a pole. Just a bamboo pole, and I'm going to put it in the ground beside where the root ball was. And just sink it in. And as it grows, I have handy dandy little Velcro ties. You can use the t-shirts, you can use old pantyhose, anything that's got some give or that is easy for you to adjust for the size. Because if you were to put something around this really, really tightly, the stem's going to continue to get fatter and fatter and fatter, and then you'll strangle your tomato plant. So I just keep these on the pole, so when it grows up tall, I've already got them there for attaching later. This guy is another black crim, and again, he's a lot bigger. And if you can notice on this, this is what they refer to as a sucker. You've got a branch coming off, there's the main stalk, and it's a new set of leaves. Some people will pinch them off, some people won't. If you want to find out if it's really advantageous to you or not, buy 2 tomato plants that are the same. Take all the suckers off of one, don't take them off the other, and see if it makes a difference to you. Good strong roots. Plunk them in. And I tell you, the first time you do this, it scares the starch off you, taking all those leaves and branches off your tomato. But there you go. This is not going to do any good. Not if it grows to 6 feet. So again, I grew tomatoes last year and didn't think it through. All my tomatoes were ready to ripen when I was on vacation. So being the nice people that we are, we told the neighbors to come over and just pick to their heart's content, and they did. But I tell you, we had the little Candyland, which is a little tiny currant tomato, and it's absolutely awesome. We had more tomatoes on that thing. You just go and you pull them all off, toss them in the salad. There's no chopping, no muss, no fuss. Kids just absolutely love them. They'll keep stealing them from you. But there we go. I've got actually 3 tomatoes planted in here. And something that goes really well with tomatoes is basil. I got one that's already started. Basil and tomatoes are really compatible. Bugs don't like the smell of the basil. They don't necessarily really like the fuzziness off the tomato leaves either. But if you're gonna do these, you'd plant it so that the heat of the sun at noon is usually really scorchy on basil. But if you plant it close to your tomato, when that noonday sun comes by, your tomato leaves are going to be giving it a little bit of shade. So I am going to plunk this guy over here. And there, I've got my tomato and basil. And it's a little bit windy today, so I'm going to do my seed basil tomorrow, and that will probably just go in here. I haven't quite decided yet. Oh, one more. If you are on a balcony, you can actually grow tomatoes in that sort of a space. This is one that fits on a fence. I've got it right there. This is called a tumbling tom. I've already taken off the leaves. The pot isn't that deep, so what I'm going to do is just break this open just a little bit. It's not going to hurt the tomato. It's not going to kill it. Might shock it a little bit, which just means he's going to flip out and go, oh, I need to make more roots. I need to get a better anchor. And this little guy will completely fill your pot, tumble over, and you will have all sorts of cherry tomatoes growing. And it just keeps going and going and going. Also, when you're doing a container, try to use your potting mixes. They're a different composition. If you are just using regular garden soil, a lot of times it's too dense and it doesn't have the same kind of bug activity that keeps it nice and light and friable. And when you're watering this at the end of the season, if you were just using regular garden soil in your small containers, a lot of times it's just solid like a brick, and your plants don't do that well in it. as long as it says it's for containers or pots, don't worry about the brand. Use what you can get, okay? They're all pretty well the same. Some have a few more additives, but... And because this one tumbles, he doesn't need any sort of support. The one in your container does. So I'm just going to put this tomato cage on. So the bush tomato is going to use this sort of a support and get lots and lots of tomatoes. These guys are going to continue to vine up, and I will use my Velcro straps. This guy is a vining one, and he's probably going to get attached to the back side of this screen. And one other thing, when you're gardening, don't be afraid to try something fun. This is my conversation piece. This works really well for me. I don't have kids in school anymore. I don't have grandbabies. I don't really have a whole lot of family in town. So any opportunity I have to flap my gums at somebody, I will take it. This is called a mouse melon cucamelon. And it's a little tiny lemony flavored cucumber. And I usually plant it out by the alley strip. Anybody that goes down by an alley, if they see flowers growing, they will pick them. So I've got herbs down there. I will have the cucamelon this year. I have sunflowers, I get zinnias. I try to think of as many different kinds of things that I can possibly have along there so that people are free to come by and just go, ooh, that's different. Ooh, that's fun. Oh, can I try one? And it's great. This little thing, he only grows about maybe a foot wide, 2 feet wide, but he'll go for 10 feet and you get so many of these little flavor bombs on them. Hi, it's Candice again with Grow Local, and today we are going to do Three Sisters planting. It is a traditional Native American way of planting where you take 3 plants, put them together, and they support each other. With this one, I have a 6-pack of corn. I've already planted some of it, but I thought I'd just show you. It comes in a little packet, and you take them apart very similar to when you're using your fingers and your thumbs for opening up a hamburger or a hot dog bun. And you just very gently tease the roots apart. Three Sisters is a method of where you have 1 square foot of growing space, and you're trying to get as much into it as you possibly can. Square foot gardening with kids is kind of fun because you can sneak in a math lesson. If you are going to plant 4 things, and in this one I am just going to plant 4 of this type of corn, it is called glass corn, and you can use it as popcorn when it's ready. You can use it as decorative corn, or you can grind it up and use it as corn flour. But if you're teaching kids how to plant this in, how does he say it? Zip, zap, bing, bing, bing. And in this case, it's zip straight down the middle, zap across, and then bing, 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 and you've got your holes. Teach them farmer's measures too. For me, 1 inch deep is right where the first joint of my finger is. So if I just poke it in, I know I've got the right depth. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that guy's done. Easy peasy. With this one, because I'm going to use the corn that's already started. I find that when you're planting it, when the corn gets to be about knee high is when it's ideal for planting your beans and your squash around it. The reason for this is corn is the oldest sister. She is the one that stands up straight. She doesn't bend a whole lot. She makes the rules. She takes the lead. And I put her in the middle and pot her up. Then you are going to have your beans. This is the middle sister. There's no way you're going to have 2 strong competing sisters in the house. So the bean sister, she has to figure out how to weave her way around and find her place. So I can put 3 bean seeds in here, and they will grow. And beans, when they grow, they will make heart-shaped leaves, and they'll make a pair, then they'll make another pair. They'll probably make a 3rd pair. And then it's like they've turned into teenagers and they've changed their mind. They don't want to do that anymore. And they start to send out a tendril and it just starts shooting up. And what it does is this tendril is looking for support and it's going to find the corn and it will start to wind itself around. And if I remember correctly, pole beans will wind counterclockwise and runner beans will go clockwise. But they also say not all pole beans will do that and not all runner beans will do that. So if you're curious about stuff like that, watch and see what yours does. So your beans are going to grow up. If I was to plant them really early at the same time that I did the corn, I have found sometimes my corn doesn't take off very fast and the beans have a tendency to strangle it and it doesn't work as well. So plant your corn early. When it gets to be knee-high, then plant your beans around it. With this one, I've got a Scallopini Squash. I love these guys. They're little, they're tiny, they're buttery. You only have to wait till they get to be an inch or two. And then you can toss them in the frying pan with a little bit of butter. They go really, really well with pasta, just on their own. It's my husband's favorite. And I'm only gonna plant one. Now these guys I know don't get really, really huge. The vine itself is probably gonna spread out like that and I'll get lots and lots of patty pan squash off of it. So I don't mind putting it in here. Some of the squash or some of the pumpkins, if you go to plant them in there, please be aware of how long they get. I did one year and it went to 10 feet before it stopped growing. You can actually pinch out the growing tip and stop it from doing that, but corn. Oh, I forgot to say, your squash is the baby sister. She's the one, the middle sister has already figured her way around the big sister. The big sister's got herself established in the house. And the baby, well, she's kind of just, you guys got that all covered. I'm going off this way. I'm going to do my own thing. And the joy of these is they don't take up a whole lot of space. They get piles and piles of food for you. They're fun to do. They are very compatible with each other. And it makes for a nice story. They don't compete with each other like people shouldn't. They work together. You've got the corn growing up straight and tall. It sets out its leaves. You've got your bean that's going to twine around. And if you look, you will find that the beans will always be where the corn leaves aren't. So they're getting enough sunshine. And then your squash, because it's got kind of big hairy leaves, caterpillars and bugs don't really like it. They have shade, so they keep the moisture in your soil and they stop the weeds from growing. So today we learned about tomatoes, putting them on fence baskets if you don't have a whole lot of room, in-ground containers, and in-ground, potentially coming up trellises. And we also learned about the three sisters, corn, squash, and beans. And if you missed the planning your garden episode, it's okay. We're gonna play that for you next. If you picked up one of the in-ground packages that we have on offer, these are some of the things that you might get. This is how you might plan out your garden. This is mine. I'm going to show you a few things and how I've got mine sorted, sort of, but it might change, it might not. But for starters, I already have garlic that I planted in October. It's coming up beautifully, I think, and it's probably going to be ready to eat and harvest in July. I've put some alyssum in here. That is a lovely little plant. It attracts beneficial insects. They come for the nectar and then they go off looking for protein like aphids. So they're delightful to have in your garden. We have carrot seeds. Now I know that they have a bunch of different carrot seeds that you could be getting, and you might get purple ones, you might get white ones, you might get orange ones. These ones happen to be yellow. And for these, I'm going to start them at this end of the bed, just because I can. And I've got some bigger things I'm going to talk about later on the other end. But I get good sun in here, and it typically comes over this way. I get a little bit of shade, but for the most part, I'm going to get 8 to 12 hours of sun on this bed. So I always call this one my hot one. And I'm going to take my little seeds, because carrot seeds, you can start really early and you can plant them really late. You can usually start planting these early March and stop planting them maybe the middle of September. They have the added bonus of being able to overwinter if it's not too damp. The colder it gets, the sweeter that your carrots will get. The starch in them turns to sugar. So if you have a hard time getting your kids to eat carrots, let them get cold in the ground. You might be quite pleasantly surprised. The other thing that you can do with carrots in this row, if you're trying to separate it up, is put in some radish seeds. The radishes are going to come up within a month, and by the time they're ready, your little carrot seeds are just going to be starting to sprout. These guys do take a long time to come up. Don't think you've done anything wrong. Don't panic. One of the things you're going to want to make sure is that the soil's not really high in nitrogen. That's the one for the good green leafy growth. And if it's too rich, you get these fantastic looking green tops all over the place and these little threads for carrots. Or you might get hairy carrots, or you might get those little funny forked ones that everybody always shows you on Facebook. You may get calendula. Now, this is a really pretty plant, or a really pretty flower. It's edible, the flowers. You can toss them in your salads. If you get into herbology, you can make creams and stuff too, because it's really beneficial for you. So I'm going to tuck a couple in here. And all I'm doing is making a hole with my fingers. There's nothing fancy about this, you guys. I didn't tell you. When you're taking plants out of the pots, you don't want to break the stems. There's a lot of plants that if you break the stem, it's just not going to grow for you. It's dead. You killed it. You can pull it out by the leaf, because if you lose a leaf, chances are the plant's going to grow a new one. But the best thing to do, especially if you're teaching kids, is take your plant pot, gently squeeze. All you're doing is trying to loosen the soil from the edge of the pot. And then you're going to make an L with your hands. I tell the kids it's L for love, because plants love to be protected in here. Place it on the top of the pot. You want to keep your fingers straight, because when you turn it over, you want this to be like a plate, not a bowl. Kids have a tendency to not be able to let go if they do it that way. So make it like a plate, pull the top off, and you have your plants. Now these you can gently separate. Plants are a lot tougher than you think, so don't freak, don't be too worried, and just pop them in the hole. So another thing is, if you're doing this, keep your bed nice and short. I would typically be working on the other side so I don't have to stretch so much, but you want to be able to just reach the middle of your bed comfortably. There. So now I have carrots and I have calendula, and on over here I have another kale. Now this one's called, and I can never say it right, so I'm just going to call it how I know it, dinosaur kale. And you can see it's got really good roots on the bottom. If you have a vegetable and you take it out of the pot and the roots are really congested and they're starting to spiral around, don't be afraid, just tease them out. All you're doing is letting that plant know that there's a whole wide world for it to go spread out in and get more nutrients. This guy will probably grow to be 3 feet tall. It's just going to bush out like that, so it's just brilliant looking. And those calendula are going to look fantastic in front of it too. Then what have I got? Oh, I have beans. Now these ones are called borlotti, and they're a drying bean. These I'm not going to plant yet. It's just, the soil's too cold. If I put it in there, they get damp and then they're just going to rot on me. So it's, you can try to get a jump on that ahead. If you think it's going to be really nice weather, you can always take a chance and plant them. And know that if the weather doesn't cooperate, you're just going to have to plant them again. These guys, I'm going to make a row along this side of my bed because I get an awful lot of sun this way and I don't want it to shade the rest of my garden. Now, having said that they're going to be 17 feet in length, quite possibly, I am going to put some sticks in here, going straight up. I'm going to put one across like this and back down in this way. So hopefully I will have them trailing from one bed over to the other. And then I have kind of a little arbor if I want, if it's a really hot day. I can plant a tomato in front of it. Again, this is one that I'm not going to plant until the end of May because I don't want it stunted. I don't want it in the ground too early. So they sulk, they pout, and they're just not happy campers. I have chives in here already. These little guys are garlic chives, and this one's regular, and you can see it's already starting to get the bulbs, the flower heads on them. Kids absolutely love garlic chives. Don't know what it is about them, but they will just sit there and just keep eating them and eating them and eating them. When these bloom, you can actually eat the flower tops too. Try not to eat all of them though. They are another plant that attracts beneficial insects to your garden that are going to start eating the bugs that you don't want in there. There are a couple of little onions that you might get in your packet. Again, L for love. After you've made sure the soil is really nice and loose on the pot. I'm going to tuck it in here. And I'm not going to bother to separate these onions because if they get too close to being buddy-buddy, they just push each other out of the way and still grow nice and big. On this side, I'm going to do some squash and some pumpkins. There is an acorn squash and it is absolutely lovely, stores really well. These are your scallopini or patty pan. I don't know if you guys are going to get these either, but these are awesome. They're about, when they're about 2 to 3 inches, just pop them in the frying pan with a little bit of butter and you'll scarf them down. This is, and I had to show it to you, this is my Renegade Pumpkin. I'm not sure what kind it is. I think it's a big warty one, but I'm not positive. I used it for decoration and I left it in the garden on top of a pot. Well, it decomposed and all the seeds have come out and I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 6 plants here. And this is what it's going to look like for a bit. But I can take these, you can still see the old pumpkin squash, pumpkin seed shell. And if I put this one in here, I know this guy is going to need a lot of room. So he's going to grow up, and if he's anything like last year, he's going to be about 4 feet wide and anywhere up to 10 feet long. So he's going to grow out this way. My husband won't have to mow so much. And life will be good. So I think that's probably it. I know that there are other plants that you might be getting. You might get a borage. And that's a lovely flowering plant too. It tastes like cucumbers and attracts all sorts of insects. If you look over here, I actually have a renegade potato coming up, and I'm thinking that must be from the compost. I've got these all in. I think I'm done for today. I'm just going to give it a squirt with water after you guys leave. And then we're good to go. So thank you for joining me.